Hey there, Outlaw. Go ahead and have a seat, and we'll tell you today's story. Deal with the Devil, written by IneffectivelyUseful, narrated by Akutabi, with Romnex and Natures Temper. If you want to talk to God, you pray. No need to attend church. Close your eyes or declare your words aloud. But if you want to have a conversation with the devil, you'll have to look him in the eyes. Ruth Cardwell spoke to God every night after her daughter, Mia, was diagnosed with that damn disease. Yet, her prayers for recovery were never answered. During 3 years, Mia violently fought the disease. She underwent countless trials and experiments. Her optimism conquered every negative test result brought to her by doctors with tucked chins and elusive eyes. Ultimately, her suffering wasn't ended by a miracle vaccine, or even the cultivation of the disease brought to fruition. She relieved the pain on her own terms. She was only 16 years old. In the years after Mia's passing, Ruth dissociated and withdrew. Her focus became her relationship with God. Every restless hour was devoted to prayer. She asked Him for strength, guidance, and reassurance that Mia's soul was in heaven. Like her prayers for Mia's recovery, these prayers also fell on deaf ears. A seed of doubt took root in Ruth's heart and consumed her mind. Had Mia been forsaken? Ruth had to be sure. This unyielding desperation for the truth forced Ruth to unconventional methods. She met with psychics, conducted sciences, and explored literature on the afterlife, all to no avail, until she met a demonologist, Dr. Lambert, who provided her with the Table Court, an ancient book that contained the ceremony to summon Satan. Ruth knew the stories about meeting with the devil, and yet, like most people, could not fathom any truth to the claims. The supernatural elements of this world often seem to go overlooked, consciously or subconsciously. Ruth couldn't be sure why, but the year-long search for the destination of her daughter's soul exposed the mother to events that were impossible to ignore. Starting at the crossroads, that sticky hot night. Gravel pop and crunch as the vehicle came to a stop. Ruth hesitated, the key to the ignition clenched between her fingers. Hulking stalks of corn lined the adjoining paths and twisted ambiguous silhouettes in the maze. Narrow, vacant roads were a canvas for the setting sun as it painted illusory pools of water. To the south, a single wooden lamppost rose above the towering fields. Billowing dust settled in her rear view mirror. The mother was convinced she was completely isolated. Ruth closed her eyes, muttered a prayer under her breath, and in one motion threw the key and exited the car. The engine ticked as she hashed the trunk and heaved a box filled with candles, table cord, and an assortment of ritualistic objects into the center of the intersection. One by one, she removed the items and arranged them meticulously, according to a sequence displayed in the book. The sun dipped below the horizon as she established her position in the epicenter. Not a second later, the oil lamp sputtered, flashing, light blink until the bulb hummed, flooding the makeshift shrine in a dull yellow hue. Ruth tossed the page of the time-beating tome and thumbed across an ancient passage written in an unknown script. Below the mysterious pictorial lettering, scrawled out by a mother pen, she found the translation. The mother examined the words for a moment. The hair on the back of her neck stiffened. Realization dug deep in her chest. Once she had read this text, there would be no turning back. Ruth dropped the book in her lap, reaching into the box, and pulled out a framed picture. Mia's smile radiated from the photo, a blissful moment immortalized in color 1 month before her illness. In the picture, the mother and daughter stood together, locking arms in front of the Grand Canyon. Mia was a mirror image of her mother, gorgeous, neatly bun brown hair, amber eyes that glistened in the sun, and a big happy grin spread wide across her face. Ruth wiped away tears as she seized the book and began to recite the transcription. It was past midnight when she finished with the ritual. She closed the book and waited, watching, listening. The parts of the road Ruth could see were now shrouded in darkness, and when she stared long enough, shapes began to morph in the peripherals of her vision. She closed her eyes and listened to the crickets as they strummed chirps throughout the maze while the lamp buzzed above her. A gust of wind howled as it exploded across the field. Ruth opened her eyes to extinguish candles, the picture of her daughter missing, and the book open. The pages flew across the spine with seemingly intentionality to the passage she had read. The lamp strained as it produced bright pulses of light. Ruth became compelled to recite the passage a second time. At the top of her lungs, she repeated the cursed speech, again and then again. Each completion seemed to excite the elements around her. It amplified the wail of the wind and surged the electricity in the lamp. She kept reading and reading until a shrill pop interrupted her, and small shards of glass rained into her hair. Then everything went still. Ruth froze in place, eyes glued forward. Way off in the distance, two small, glowing red spheres appeared down the road. The couple lights bobbed slowly, rhythmically. Her skin tingled. Every atom in her body screamed for her to fly out of there. She fumbled into her pockets for the keys and turned back towards the car. Tucked in the windshield was a picture of Mia. Ruth mustered her resolve. She had to know the truth. When Ruth turned, the smoldering orbs were danger close. It was all she could manage to stand there and confront whoever, whatever, she had summoned. The figure, close enough now that she could understand its size, was so tall that I could see above the overgrown maze with ease. And now, she could discern those two red lights or eyes which loomed down at her with an eerie interest. Then, a low, guttural growl permeated Ruth's eardrums.
Oh. Why have you summoned me here?
The being spoke softly. Nonetheless, Ruth was stunned, too terrified to reply.
Seek you fame, fortune, or perhaps is it love you desire?
None of those things.
Ruth replied. Her voice wavered, but she stood steadfast in the being's presence.
Then what thing have you summoned me here for?
My daughter.
She said.
I need to know her soul is not condemned to hell.
Knowledge.
The being stepped closer. Its footsteps reverberated against the ground like a hand to a drum. From this distance, Ruth could make its grotesque figure. Dense, wiry hair covered its upper body. Thick, curved horns protruded from its temples and disappeared into darkness in front of his face. Thin, long legs, draped with the same wiry hair, led down to hoofs, coated by dust and shadow.
This thing I can oblige. For years, humans have sought me for incredible talents or unmatched wealth. Material things.
The words ooze across its lips.
Many have forgotten it was knowledge that comprised the first deal that our kind agreed to. And we've seen the ramifications, haven't we?
The devil spoke with a gratified smile, amused. He leaned in towards Ruth, eye to eye.
Are you sure you want to know?
Yes,
She replied.
I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't think of anything else. I need to know she's okay, and I'm prepared to pay the price.
The fiend reared its mighty head and cackled. Ruth, for the first time, turned away, eyes to the ground.
I admire your tenacity.
He boasted.
But I'm concerned all your efforts are for naught. See, you have nothing to exchange, nothing to barter with.
Ruth felt a supernatural chill crawl up her spine as she faced Brute.
What do you mean? I will sacrifice my soul in exchange for hers.
Your soul is not yours to give, my child.
Ruth shuddered, defeated, stumped on how to respond.
Your soul already belongs to me. Well, in time it will.
In time?
Indeed, in time.
The devil answered.
Currently your soul is fragmented, divided up amongst my minions. They feast upon the hopes, dreams, and prayers you've abandoned throughout the years. Why is it, did you think, God has not answered your prayers?
I have repented for my sins. God has not abandoned me.
Ruth retorted.
Oh, but he has.
The demon stretched off his knees in laughter. Ruth's mind swirled, searching for evidence to corroborate his claims. Was he telling the truth? The devil is known to weave webs of deceit. But maybe it is true? Could she be destined for hellfire after all? Nobody's perfect, the mother thought. Surely there is redemption in trying your hardest to be a good person, a good mom. Desperation penetrated her heart as she grabbed the reality of her action. she summoned the devil to make a deal. Surprising composure overcame the mother as she looked at Beast in his fiery eyes.
Well then, if there's no deal to be made, I'm going to leave. I'll get the truth another way.
Again, the beast roared in amusement as the mother turned and started towards her car.
Wait.
He said, ceasing his laughter. Ruth stopped, hand on the door.
I could help recover your soul. And then you'd be qualified to make our deal.
Why would you do that?
Boredom. Entertainment?
The devil shrugged.
You seem fun. I'd like to witness what you're capable of.
And how will you help me recover my soul?
I will give you the eyes to see.
He said as he raised his arms to the sky.
Do we have a deal?
Yes.
At that moment, Ruth felt brittle coil around her wrists and ankles, shackles, frigid iron clasps around her joints and dug deep into her skin. Ruth winced in pain to stare in awe as individual links of shame materialized, one at a time. From each bonded cuff, the links continued to form until they coiled in a heap on the ground. Finally, they lifted from the ground, hovered momentarily in the air, and rocketed away in separate directions. The tension of the chains hoisted Ruth helplessly into the air. She screamed.
Now you can perceive the demons that restrain you.
The beast hissed.
At each end, you will find a fragment of your soul.
Ruth fell from the sky and scrambled on the ground. Once she had gotten to her feet, the devil was nowhere to be seen. She looked down at the shackles around her hands and feet. Red, bruised skin rose around the iron bands. She tried with all her might to plunge her hands through. She tugged on the ends of the chains in frustration, beating them bound to this demonic pack. She picked up the chain that attached to her right wrist and followed its trail that led back the way she had come in. But first, she retrieved the picture of Mia and tucked it in to her pocket. And that's today's story, Outlaw. I hope that you enjoyed the story. I am grateful that both Nature's Temper and Romnex lent me their voice for this story. It's been a long time on the making. Be sure to click the links on the description so you could check out their channels and their new stuff. Both of them are top-notch narrators. And like always, I'll see y'all on the wasteland.